Okay, so this is our next episode of True Wrestling Fans Discussions, but this we're doing a little bit something different here. We're gonna be covering the Dark Side of the Ring, season 3. We're gonna cover the first part of the premiere, which was on the legendary Brian Pillman. I'm your host, Mike.
And I'm Frank, and let's get right to it, man.
Okay, all right. So the documentary started off with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he was talking about the gold chains. How Brian Pillman told him, I guess they were driving around or something like that when they became the
Yeah,
Hollywood Blondes, and he told him, "Oh, dude, man, we need gold chains, man." He was like, "Okay, whatever."
yeah. And Austin said that he didn't, he doesn't keep a lot of paraphernalia from back in
Right.
the day, but he actually showed the chain
The
that
actual,
Brian Pillman gave him, and then they cut to the scene where they came out in the arena, and the two of them had it on,
yeah.
and it fit the persona of the Hollywood Blondes. It's
Oh, it
just like
really did.
it made it. Besides the whole movie reel thing,
Yeah.
the gold chains kind of
Right,
fit the
right.
bill with
It
them.
did. It did. That was just like kind of like the icing on the cake, you know?
Yeah,
Definitely added to it. I always wondered about Pillman's like voice, if that was his natural voice, because he had like a real raspy voice. But then,
yeah.
but then they explained that as a child he had polyps growing on his vocal cords, and so he had to have like multiple surgeries, and like from the scraping
hmm
multiple times, that's why his voice became raspy. And then he almost died, like because he could barely breathe because it was so thick, I guess, the
Yeah,
growths. And
yeah. The doctor came in and they took him
they,
to
yeah,
the doctor's house, which
yeah,
is unheard of these
that
days.
sounds crazy. Like,
And he performed the emergency tracheotomy on his table,
hmm
which was unbelievable.
yeah,
But
so
yeah, he had like 40 plus surgeries
yeah, it's
on his
nuts.
vocal cords,
Imagine
which
that
is
as a
why he
kid.
talked like that.
Yeah, imagine as a
Oh,
kid.
that's
That's
traumatic.
that's got to be terrible. Thankfully he was able to, pull through it.
Yeah,
They also talked about how Brian Pillman was kind of like a street fighter, and how he
yeah.
was always getting into street fights. And they told this crazy story about how he got in some girl threw a drink at him at the bar,
hmm
and then like he got into a fight with the boyfriend or something. He was like hanging him. He hung him
Shut them.
off.
Oh yeah, over the
It was
railing.
like some railing, and he's just hanging him by like what the drop. That's no. But
Yeah,
he
and then he got barred from that bar.
and then they banned him.
Yeah, no pun intended on that.
So he really was the loose cannon.
Yeah,
You know.
that pretty much started right there.
hmm They also talked about how he was trained by the Hearts.
Yeah,
How he went up to
he went
he
up to
went
the
up to
dungeon.
he went up to the dungeon, and I believe that was after the he was in the NFL very briefly and the CFL.
Well, he was in the NFL with the Bengals for a brief minute, and then
Right.
he went to the CFL,
Canadian
played with
Football League.
Calgary,
hmm
and which is a totally different set of rules there. But then even when he didn't make it there, that's when he tried wrestling, and his old football coach had told him, well,
That's
hey,
right.
the guy to know is Stu Hart. If anybody's going to teach you, this guy's the godfather of Canadian wrestling up there. And yeah, so he went into the dungeon, and they were saying that if he would put you in a hold and for about 4 or 5 hours, and so if you didn't hear screaming, it wasn't being done right.
Right. That
The
that
classic
still
dungeon.
hard. Yeah, yeah. So I'm imagining they really didn't mention Brett, but I would imagine Brett came across him back then.
Yeah,
He had to
yeah.
have.
He was working with Brett and Owen and in Stampede Wrestling,
Yeah.
but yeah,
That's
they
yeah,
didn't
because
go
he did
too much
wrestle for.
into it.
Yeah, they didn't get too much into that.
No.
But apparently, so from there, he developed some sort of a relationship with Dave Meltzer. For those who don't know, he's a famous wrestling writer. He's been writing for many, many, many years. Got a
Yes.
lot of heat with a lot of guys, but he's got some friends too in the industry. And he developed a friendship with him, and they used to trade wrestling tapes back then. This is pre-internet,
Yeah.
so the only way for you to see a lot of these like national, or I should say regional, these regional organizations, that didn't have the national TV deals was through VHS tapes.
Mhm.
So he was trading tapes with him to see, what does this guy do? What does that guy do? What's going on? And through that connection, Dave Meltzer, I believe, somehow gets into contact with Jim Ross, or Jim Ross comes across the tapes through Dave Meltzer, and he discovers Pillman through that.
Yeah. He got his tryout with WCW, and he came in, and they were high on him to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They really thought he was going to be, one of the best. The only problem in WCW was every time he started getting some traction, ownership or the management changed hands, and he would be here, and then when management changed hands, he's back down, and you have to start over
Yeah.
again, and then the roller coaster just kept beginning.
Yeah, it was in 1990.
Hmm.
On was I don't know if it was I believe it was the Clash of the Champions
Clash of
maybe.
Champions.
Yeah, he had that match with Flair.
Oh man, what a match!
Yeah, and Pillman was so athletic, man. He wasn't the biggest guy, but like he was an athlete, from his days, playing football. He was
Hmm.
just a tremendous athlete, and he did a lot of real cool stuff in the ring, especially for that time. His style was just exciting to watch,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, definitely. And when they finally he finally realized he wasn't really going anywhere as a singles wrestler. That's when they put him in the tag team,
Yeah,
which Steve Austin wasn't exactly wanting a tag team partner because he said he only trusted himself.
right.
But as they started
DTA.
getting it, yeah, exactly, still holds to this day.
Yeah.
As they started clicking in the ring, he was starting to enjoy it more.
Austin,
And
yeah.
yeah, and these two were really on the same page and became one of the great WCW tag teams. And they had some great matches. The downfall on one of them was, if you remember, when they were talking about, they had the tag team match with was it Flair and
Yeah.
Anderson,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that was when Flair had just returned, and they said that the rating had dropped so bad on that, and they said it couldn't be Flair
No, well,
because
of course
it's Flair.
they can't play
So
with that.
it's gotta be these
It's
guys.
got to be them. Yeah. How about the fact that Austin didn't even know they were gonna team up?
Yeah,
Like he was,
Pillman just came up to him and said, "Hey, by the way, we should work on our moves." He goes, "What are you talking
yeah,
about?"
finish.
He
Yeah,
goes, "Oh
something like
yeah,
that.
they put us in a tag
And
team.
he was like, "What?"
I don't want to be in a tag team."
And then, because he kind of knew Brian Pillman, but he wasn't really close with him or anything like that
Yeah,
at that point. But then, like, they started to hit it off, and the relationship,
and
it
then when they broke him up, he's like, "Well, wait a minute, I want to be in the tag team with him. I don't want to be back at a singles match. I want to be with him."
right, and then they just broke him up, after that whole thing with the rating and everything, and they just pulled the plug really too
Yeah, I
early,
didn't
man.
agree
Because
with
they were,
that.
that was cool stuff, man. Like I love the stuff that Brian Pillman did, and a lot of that stuff was his idea, like the way they
Hmm.
dressed. Those were his stuff. Like I think
The
the
movie
best,
reel thing was
the
his
movie
idea
reel,
too.
yeah, the movie when he used to
That was
go.
classic.
I
When
used to love
they're
when
in
he
the
was
ring and
there,
they're double
yeah,
teaming and then they just start
yeah,
doing the
uh-huh,
reel. Oh man, it was
yeah,
great.
so
But they didn't even have them together for that long. Maybe not even a year. Because then Pillman had gotten hurt, and then they just changed the storyline.
yeah, yeah. Then apparently he cuts off contact with Dave Meltzer. They talked
Yeah,
about that, how he I guess he was trying to do a work, so he just like kind of like cut off contact with him completely. Wasn't talking to him, and he kind of thought, wait, what is he going crazy now? He said it was a trade show in Las Vegas that Vince was there and a lot of the WWE guys, and then
I love this part.
Pillman shows up like in character. Like he shows up in character and he like runs up to Vince and he grabs him. Hey man, how you doing? Whatever. And he grabs him and then they took a picture together. They showed
Yeah,
they showed
he
the picture.
smiles and he's like, "Who's this guy?"
Right. And he was like, what the hell's wrong? And then he just like kind of left. And he asked Dave Meltzer, can I get your press credential? That way I can get in
Yeah,
there. And
yeah.
because then he kind of finally spoke to him again. And he went and he did that. And then McMahon told Jim Ross, like, who the hell is this guy? This guy's crazy. Like, I can't sign this guy. And then JR is the one that told him, no, listen, he told me what he was gonna do. Like,
That was around the same time that Bischoff thought Pillman was doing a work on him when he said, "Hey, give me my release so I can go
yeah,
out on camera and say, hey, they've just fired me." And when he signed it and notarized it and everything, instead of it being a work, this was actually him negotiating. Oh, well, cool. Now I can go somewhere else.
right.
I just got over on you. I could try to get more money,
Mm-hmm.
which was always his thing because I think he was getting paid 225 and he wanted
Between
400.
yeah, between 225 and 250, something like that.
Yeah, which back then was a
Yeah,
lot.
he was looking for four. Yeah, so he tells him that what did JR say? JR told him that he's crazy like a fox, and this guy's
Yeah.
creative. You gotta sign this guy.
Hmm.
Back then he didn't really want to go. He actually didn't really want to go to WWE. He just wanted more money.
Yeah, he was
That's all it
doing
was.
this as
So he was
a
trying to
prop to Bischoff.
right. He was trying to like kind of like leverage them against each other, and he was Bischoff. Of course, I don't know. Bischoff says that he didn't get worked. But will Bischoff even admit that he really got worked? Because
He
right,
kind
doesn't
of
it?
he kind of did. He kind of admitted that, oh, he got one over on me because I thought
Yeah,
this was a storyline, and then now he's, wait a minute, I just got rid of him.
but
Yeah, he got worked.
yeah, I know, but he said that, oh, that was we spoke about that, and I told him go over there, get some more money for a little while, get some heat, and then I could bring you back, and I could justify paying you more money.
Yeah,
Pillman is not here to tell his side of the story, so who knows?
unfortunately, I don't think if I think if Pillman was a success in WWE, which he was starting to become, I honestly don't believe he would have went back to WCW because with the whole NWO thing had started at that point, I really don't see Pillman going anywhere, especially with those guys and the politics to the back with the big boys. Yeah, I honestly I think he made the right move by doing that.
Yeah. So the sad part is when they're talking about that whole custody battle with
Mm.
his ex-wife, and so he had 3 kids, right? He had
Yeah, with three different ladies,
right. He had the first daughter, then he had the second daughter, and then he had
and then his
Brian
son.
Pillman, and then his son
Yeah.
Brian Pillman Jr.
Plus, he had two from is it Melanie? That's the latest one.
She had, well, you talking about her own kids that he took in that he
Yeah,
raised?
yeah. So he had total of technically five, but three
Yeah,
were his own.
that was oh man, that was such a tragic
The
situation.
the whole the whole thing with that custody battle that he just tells his ex, I have more money, I have the lawyers, I will win, you won't. And the fact that she backed him, his current wife had backed him, and she said to this day she wished she never did. I think he was totally wrong in this because there was no reason for what he did. It was just him showing a power trip, and that led to the unfortunate her death. She was so traumatized by it, she took
She
her own life,
she took her own life, and then the
and
ex,
that I
his
mean
wife,
that's
his wife told her that his wife tells the ex-wife that, oh, not even your mother thinks you should have custody of your kids or something, or I'd be a better mother or something
yeah,
crazy like that. That was terrible. And then she takes her life, and then like her own daughter, her biological daughter,
Kimberly, I think her
Pil-
name was.
blames who was Pillman's current wife for
Yeah,
that, and it's just a tragic
there was no reason for it. I
no,
mean, she was a loving mother. She wasn't abusive to her at all. He
nothing you can
turns
tell.
around and says, I can do this because I have everything.
Yeah, then she went to go see her daughter one day, and then the Pillman's wife accused her of like trying to kidnap her, I think. And the
Yeah,
cops come, and then
I mean,
they took her away,
he
and
proved that he was the loose cannon on and off camera
yeah,
because there was just a lot of things here that didn't make sense why he was doing it.
yeah, no, it was bad stuff too, man.
It is.
One thing I really liked too was when they spoke about Bobby Heenan.
Oh God, I
How
remember seeing this live.
Heenan had a neck injury, so he was like protecting him,
Yeah,
and like he grabbed him, like hey, and then this guy curses on live TV.
and then
Bobby
yeah, and
Heenan
then
was like,
he walks out down the ramp, and
right,
I'm
right,
like,
right,
oh hell, he's fired, and he comes back and apologizes
right, right,
on
right,
on the air, but this was something never heard of before, and this was Pillman trying to start that whole loose cannon
hmm
persona, and when he touched him and he gets up and he's like, whoa, 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 I'm just playing,
right,
yeah.
right. But it came off good. It came off good.
It did. Unfortunately, Heenan thought he was terminated
Yeah,
for that, but they didn't do anything to him.
that was great. All right, then they mentioned the ECW, his ECW run, which was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, he
You
went
know,
there after WCW, which
yeah,
most guys do to kind of get over, considering Heyman was sort of working with Vince at the time, and his whole thing in ECW was just pure genius. I'm not so sure about the incident where he paid a woman with her child to come to the
oh, I put the
arena.
baby in front of
And when Shane Douglas went to clock him, he puts her and the baby in front of him,
yeah,
and he's laughing behind. And I'm like, okay, this guy's totally lost it.
yeah. That was funny.
But
That was good.
the fans got over on it, and the woman was a little scared, but I think she kind of enjoyed it because after
Yeah,
the segment, she was kind of laughing.
it
But
was
just yeah, some of the stuff he did there was just. Then he got into the fight with the fan
yeah,
that he flipped over the railing, which I mean in ECW was not uncommon
no,
because you had some of your rowdies there that would
hmm
get into, especially with the Dudleys. So, but I mean, he really took his loose cannon character to the next level
yeah.
in order to make it to WWE.
How about him wrestling the pencil?
Oh yeah, go back a little further. Remember one of his final matches in WCW.
Yep,
He had the match with Kevin Sullivan.
that's right.
And it was a strap match, and he
Uh-huh.
gets on the mic and says, I respect you, Booker, man.
Yep.
And that was the first time the backstage was brought into the arena.
Right, because Sullivan was the booker of the company.
Exactly, yeah.
So
And then
that he broke the
Pencil was
fourth
the
wall.
other, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. The
Pencil was the
writer,
other
the
thing,
writing.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was really
Unbelievable
cool.
how we did that.
Yeah, this I thought this episode was really good, man. A lot of stuff I didn't know. I knew the wrestling side of it. I knew a lot of it.
Yeah,
Um,
just the tragic family
yeah,
side is like, wow.
yeah. I mean, that's sad, and I didn't know he had such a good, close relationship with the guy that was the trainer from when he played football. How he had like an integral part in
Yeah.
his career, and he was giving him advice and stuff. And apparently that guy isn't like Vince.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say that he had quite a mouthful to say
Yeah,
about Vince
right.
McMahon, which get in line because who
Right.
doesn't?
Yeah, but I didn't know that part of it. Obviously the personal stuff we just said. You know what?
It's
I don't
unbelievable.
know, but they talked about him trying to get. He was trying to get more money, but then he buys the eighty thousand
The
dollar
Hummer, yeah,
Humvee, right? Which didn't make sense because he had to take care of all those kids, and that's why he was saying how he needed more
exactly.
money. But then he gets the Humvee, and then the episode pretty much ends is when he flipped
Yeah,
the Humvee, and you
this is
know
where he started his pretty much his WWE run. I think he was injured
he was in the
from it.
middle of he was just negotiating that contract at
Yeah,
that point. It was kind of like a bidding war between WCW now and WWE. Right when he flips the Humvee, so that's gonna
yeah.
be part two. That's gonna be next episode. We're gonna cover that. But overall, I thought it was a great episode. Really well done.
It was, and again, they always. The one thing I like about Dark Side of the Ring is they give you a lot of the pointers that you don't know,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh my god, I didn't know that happened. In the past seasons, some of the people, you kind of knew, like when they did the Dino Bravo,
Hmm.
everybody knew what happened with that. But with Brian Pillman, I had no idea about the family stuff that was going on and the tragedy that became, and it's just like unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. No, but it was. And I like how you hear different sides of the stories too. You'll hear from
Exactly.
different people, different perspectives, and it's very. This seems like a very real. Unlike a lot of documentaries that WWE puts out. Like I understand why it's done the way it's done, but
Mhm.
this seems more like you see more emotion, you see more authenticity. It's just not a lot of stuff is not sugar coated. So this show is great, man. I can't wait to see the rest of the season in the next episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right, so that's our review of Dark Side of the Ring, part one of the loose cannon, Brian Pillman, and we'll see you guys next time. Oh, don't forget, like, share, subscribe. See you guys soon.
Take care.